Boom. Welcome around the Podium Sports. We sit up to the podium and answer tough questions. But today, I'm going to be talking about our top 10 teams in college football. And number one is going to be Texas. I think line of scrimmage for them is the best in the country. On the offensive line, I think versus Michigan, they show their defensive line can bang with the best of them. And they don't have a star player yet right now. But that collection as a unit, D tackle by committee, D line by committee. Because I think on the defensive end spots, I think Texas is one of the best in the country. And the best when it comes to their front, they ones and they twos. With Constance, Ethan Burke, Brant Sorrell, and Trey Moore. It's hard to beat that in the country, around our country. But on the interior, I think as he talk about committee, and while they don't have a star yet, I think that group that they got, Jermaine Lole, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Bill Norton, right, Tia Savea, those guys have been really, really good. And in show versus Michigan, you are not going to be moving those dudes you're not gonna. It's gonna be hard to move Texas in the run game. Ask UTSA, ask Michigan, ask Colorado State. All those teams try to run on Texas, it did not work. So for Texas, number two in the country, and I think they also have one of the best. If not the best, I think they have the best receiving core in the country. Just go at depth between Bond, Golden, Bolden, and Bond. I mean, my bad. Bond, Bolden, Golden. And then you look at Cook, Moore, and then the superstar freshman Ryan Wingo. As far as I think that's the best receiver room in the country. Look at depth-wise, right, from 1 to 6. Look at that 6 right there for Texas, right? And then I also think that they may have the best tight end in the country. I think he's in the. He right now to me he's the best tight end in the country until seen otherwise. It's Gunnar Helm. He's been dominating. He looks really good. And then I also think they have Quinn is. I got to see more of him, but he's starting to get in that confidence. Like, for me, he was number one. He was my Heisman pick, right, to win the Heisman. But he's starting to get in that kind of. Last year, I wasn't ready to put him in, especially not in the offseason. I said I need to see more out of Quinn, right? I think he's starting to enter that discussion. I'm not completely there, right? If I would say number quarterback right now, I'll say either Cam Ward or Shedeur. But I think Quinn's definitely in that discussion in the top 3. I think it's Cam Ward, Shedeur, and Quinn for top 3 quarterbacks in the country, for sure. And then so that's that Texas explains all that. Georgia's number 2. I think again roster-wise, they're elite at every position you need to be elite at, especially in the trenches. Now also I think they're also D-line by committee. Where Texas is D tackle by committee, I think they're whole D-line by committee. As much as people like Michael Williams, he reminds me of Will Anderson. He doesn't dominate he's a very raw prospect. I'm not saying Will Anderson dominates. I'm not saying Will Anderson didn't dominate and isn't dominant. Right, it wasn't dominant at Alabama. I'm not saying Michael Williams isn't dominant at Georgia. Right, the season just getting started. But I think people I remember essentially when we played the first year, everybody hyped up Will Anderson, and he just not those guys are very raw and they're not pass rush guys. Those guys are not going to scare you in a pass rush game. They have more development to go. I think Will Anderson now is a lot better than he was at Alabama, obviously. Alabama, I think the better pass rusher was Dallas Turner, and that's obvious. And at the end of the day, so another thing with Michael Williams is we've seen him, do some freakish stuff, but where has he broken out at? To me, he hasn't broken out. It's just that he's so big and so tall, so lanky. He's a freaky athlete. That's why people like him so much. So I think Michael Williams, to me, like I said, that whole D-line come by committee until seen otherwise. And then for Ohio State, right, again, elite at every position. I said, where you need to be. Now, the offensive line to me is iffy, but I think right now the third best team in the country. I think the top 2 teams that are my 2 favorites to make the Natty, or not top 2 teams who I think have a real chance at making it. And the 2 best rosters when it comes to roster and coaching staff to make the Natty is Texas and Georgia. I think Ohio State's a tier below that. So at 3 I have Ohio State. Now at 4, I'm going to shock everybody. Have Oregon, right? Why I have Oregon is because I believe that, first of all, Oregon, I get a Texas transfers, Georgia transfers, but Oregon took 14 transfers in the portal, right? 14 different transfers. And all those guys are either playing or getting significant playing time, right? So when you have that, right, it's a lot, and it's a lot because you're going to say, oh, Texas is doing almost the same amount of transfers, not more. They took a bunch of transfers too, so did Ohio State. but it's about how can you get that group to gel, right? So I think the big thing for Oregon right now is, and you saw last week, they're starting to gel now. So that's my thing with Oregon as they play more as the season goes on. Are they going to keep getting better? Are you going to see more of them gelling, playing a team and as a unit, and not as an individual player? Individually, yes, they have star players, and they have a lot of guys, elite guys at almost every position. But it doesn't matter if you can't gel and play together as a team. So for Oregon, I'm not bumping them because at the end of the day, first of all, everybody in the country is top. Everybody thinks the league's going to play. Texas is going to have a close game or two. A team they should. Georgia just had one with Kentucky, and they were up 6-0. They only had 6 points versus Clemson in the first half. So that's part of it, right? Ohio State's gonna have them. It's just about the championship teams find a way to win those games, and so far for Oregon they have, right? So that's why I'm gonna give them that. And versus Oregon State, they look like they're gelling now. They're playing on the road in Corvallis. Oregon State is not no that is a quality opponent. Quality. They're very underrated. People think they're trash. They got two really good running backs. As a quality opponent on the road in Corvallis, where they haven't won since I think 2018, in 6 years, and they do that. For Oregon team, supposed to be looking like, oh, they could be worse than last year and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be looking like, oh, they might be in it, may not be as good as we thought. I think everything's talent-wise is that good. I think they're starting to gel now. I believe Lanning's gonna get this team on the right track. I think Lanning's a winner at head coach. Now, when it comes to winning national championships, it's a different discussion. But when it comes to being a winner, I think he is that, right? So I think Oregon's is going to be just fine. I think a lot of people will regret and say, man, we overreacted at the beginning of the season. Oregon's 4 for me. At 5, I have Miami. I'm big on Cam Moore. I think he's probably the best quarterback in him and, like I said, him, Shitter, and Quinn are my top 3. I haven't separated who's 1, 2, and 3. I think it's still up for debate right now, but I think Cam Moore is right there, and I think right now he's probably, he's top 3 Heisman, all that kind of stuff, just like Quinn. So that's why I'm high on Miami. I think Miami, Xavier Restrepo, or what I like to call him, Xavier Strep Throat, because he's sick. So Xavier Strep Throat, and then they have so many weapons on that offense. And you had Dave Martinez, who's one of the best running back in the country. The offense was really good with Miyagwa on the right side, and I love their D-line. They added Tyler Barron, who's a good player, and so I'm really high on Oregon. So I'm gonna put them. I have them at 5. I just think they're a complete team, front end and back end. I like the play call they got. I like the offense they're running. I like Cam Ward. I just think their backfield, Cam Ward and Dave Martinez, is just such a nasty duo. I think Cam Ward, he was somebody I wanted my Seattle draft last year. This dude's an NFL quarterback. So at the end of the day, what separates teams is quarterbacks at the end of the day. And that's going to separate Miami from the rest of the country. And that's why I have them at 5. I think a lot of people are underrating them, and they need to be higher. And they're going to win that conference. It's not going to be close. Now, again, Miami's also going to have a close game or two. But that's when you find out if your team, who you really are as a team, and how good your team really is. Bama had them Bama was, 10-10 with UCF at halftime? Was it 10-10 or something? Yeah, it was a close game at halftime at UCF for Alabama. That made the college football playoff. People just overreact to stuff. So it's early season. So I don't overreact too much early season. Now, late season, if you're doing that, that's when I'm gonna start getting concerned. I might drop your ranking, because late in the season, that's when you should be playing your best football, especially going to the playoffs. That's when I can be. Early in the season, I'm not concerned. For me, at 6, I got Tennessee. I'm a big fan of Nico Umeavele. I think he's a really, really good quarterback that knows how to throw the ball at a high level. Now, my thing with Tennessee is they run a very gimmicky offense and a very shoot. And when they play a team like Georgia, they haven't had much success. Just because the offense is very gimmicky, and it doesn't have a lot of variety. Especially if you, because they spread you out so much, and they really just rely on a lot of choice routes, and kind of just, stacking their receivers, so that way you can't press one of their guys and knock them off his routes, stuff like that, letting their receivers get free releases in that offense. So I think for Tennessee, their offense is very gimmicky. So if they run into the wrong team, right, a gimmick can only work for so long, right? So yeah, you could be gimmicky versus a lot of teams. When you play at Texas or Georgia or Ohio State, can you still run that gimmick? Because they have the talent to take that gimmick away now. They know how that offense works. And they have the talent to execute the defensive plan and shut down that offense. Like we've seen, Georgia's completely erased Tennessee the last 2 years that they've played, because that's a gimmick offense. They have the talent and the coaching to be able to take that gimmick away, and now you're nothing, right? So that's why I'm not a big fan of their offense. I think I'm not a big fan of that veer and shoot. I just don't know how well. I don't know. Yeah, that works versus a lot of teams, but versus the elites, we'll see how well that works, right? But right now, I have Tennessee at 6, but that's my concern really about them. Ole Miss at 7. You can make an argument they should be above, and I honestly probably should have put them above Tennessee. And I guess we'll find out about Tennessee this week, though. But Ole Miss at 7. I think Jackson Dart again. I'm not ready to put him in that QB1 conversation with Shedeur, Quinn, and Cam, but I think he's getting right there on the doorstep. As one of the guys, him and Fafita. Like I think those guys are on the doorstep. I got to see more from them. Right, I need to see more, see what they do more this season. Because I think Jackson left more to be desired after last season. So I got to see more, especially Ole Miss is playing Alabama, they're playing Georgia. So we're gonna know how good Jackson Dart really is by as the season goes on. They're playing LSU, who I think has a very respectable defense. So I think Ole Miss at 7 is good. I think they're a really good team, and they have one of the best offenses in the country. And they're one of the they one of the teams that could challenge when it comes to starting 3 receivers. They may have the best starting 3 receiver in the country between Trey Harris, Antoine Wells, and Jordan Watkins. I think is very elite. And then Caden Prescore is very underrated. And the offensive line, they added some really good players in the trenches. And then Walter Nolan, Princely Umiamelen off the edge. If that D-line can get pressure, I think J.J. Pegues, number 15 for Ole Miss. I think those guys, if they get 89, Ole Miss got some more stuff going on with their D-line. But if they can get pressure and that D-line can really show up, because at the end of the SEC and national championships are built on trenches. There's a reason why. Only one team I've seen get away with it, and that's Dabo Swinney. He never had elite offensive line at Clemson. But usually when you win that championship, it's because you have elite offensive defensive line. So my question is, when they play Georgia and Alabama, what does that offensive defensive line look like, right? We don't know right now. That's why I'm still want to see about Dart in them. I'm still waiting. But I put them myself, I'll give them respect. That offense is one of the best in the country. I put them at a big season. Missouri at 8. Now, everybody's going to talk about Boston College and the close win they had versus Boston College. Boston College is also a very respectable team. I know that Florida State as a loss win is getting less and less respect as the games go on. Games go on because Florida State looks horrible. They look horrid. But I think that Boston College is a very respectable team. For Missouri, I think for them is just at the end of the day, I think that at the end, like I said, every team is going to have close games with teams that are lesser of them. Even though Boston College should have been a blowout, obviously. But talent-wise, you're just going off talent. But Boston College has a lot of production on that team. They're a very good team. And Costellas, like I say, when you have a elite quarterback, it can keep you in games. And that's what he did. At one point, they were at 14-0, I'm pretty sure. So, but I think Missouri's going to be just fine. The offensive line, I think, is really good, especially at center. The offensive line is really good. I love. They also have. I mean, when it comes to depth, I think them and Texas probably the two. When it comes to just depth at receiver, they are the two best. I forgot to mention them, but they are also one of the two when it comes to depth of receiver. I have Missouri at 8. Now I want to see about that defense, right? What can we see? I want to see that defense, and can they be consistent? And how they look versus Alabama or one of those teams. You know what I'm saying? How they look versus a team like that can really stress you with Ryan Williams and those type of guys. So Kobe Prentice and all that kind of stuff, Milrow. But that's what I see. I'm still iffy because I know Missouri's even last week was elite. Because I watched them dismantle Ohio State even without McCord and Devin Brown. They dismantled them, right? And especially in the run, Ohio State can run the ball versus Missouri. But that was last year. Darius Robinson is gone, and then Drake Straw is gone. So they lost both their corners to the draft. So it's gonna be. I like Terreno Pratt a lot, but we'll see, right? The next team would be Bama at 9. For me, it's very hard to rate Bama, but just because this is tell me the last time we've had a team that's considered a top 10 team, but also the first-year head coach at a premier program like Alabama. So for me, it's very hard to rate them. In Alabama, it's very hard for me to rate them in their program just because I've seen the ball watched it, but Bama's on another level, right? And there's no longer Michael Penix, right? He was like he fit Grubb's offense, and the offensive line fit him like a glove. Miro is not the same player as Penix. That's the big question. So when they play in Missouri and the LSU and the Georgia in 2 weeks, how does Miro look? How does that offense look versus a real defense, an elite defense, and an elite team in Georgia? How do they look? That's my next question. Like I said, a lot of these rankings are hard to rank because I haven't got to see these teams play actual Power 5 teams consistently or play good. you know what I'm saying, good. It had to be ranked, but just good teams consistently, right? We're early in the season, so it's very hard to rank these teams. So I'm going off a lot of just, okay, I've seen this and what I already thought about these teams already. So that's why I just think Bama. Like I said, keep hearing me saying for a lot of these teams that are like at 6, 7, 8, 9, like especially at 10, I have to see more of them. It's just hard to rank teams when you haven't seen them play teams on the same level or around or a Power 5 consistently, right? For Utah, I got them at 10. That's going to round out my top 10. I think Utah's a very good football team. Kyle Whittingham's one of the best coaches in the country. He doesn't get credit. As long as Cam Rising healthy, I think they can. I think they will win the Big 12. But I think they can win the Big 12. I think they could be a player in the college football playoffs. Whittingham and that coach is really good. I like Doran Singer. I like Money Parks at receiver. Like they got some receivers over there. So I like Micah Pittman. I like what they got over there at Utah. The offense is also really good every year. Same thing with the D-line. The defense is legit. Utah has a legit defense. And then Brent Kuthi at tight end, if he's healthy and he's rolling like we know he can be, is going to be that for sure. I think Utah, the top 10 team in the country, with a chance to go up. Like as we know, everybody knows they play Oklahoma State this week. So like I said, now we're going to get into the season where it's really going to be able to see who's who and who's where. Because next week we're going to see if Utah beats Oklahoma State, they're going to ride that. I'll tell you right now, they probably will shoot the rankings, right? So that's why I think like now we're going to see some of our top teams. Georgia's playing Bama in 2 weeks. Like we're going to find out who's really the top team and how teams look and what the weaknesses and deficiencies are and where they should really be ranked. So I think Utah's a really good team. I think the best team in the Big 12. I think they're going to go two Boone Pickens and knock off Oklahoma State. I'm on national TV in front of everybody. And I think they're going to show the country how good of a team they are. And that look, if the 13 college playoff, they could be a real problem. Not that they can win it, but they can knock off it or have an upset or two people aren't expecting. Don't forget this Utah team, not this team, but Utah went toe to toe with Marvin Harrison Jr., Justin Ajigba, and C.J. Stroud in the Rose Bowl. Talent-wise, if you look at the talent discrepancy and the rankings, the players, 5 stars, 4 stars, all that, Utah should have never been in that game. Game should have been a blowout, but they were in it. And if Cam Rising doesn't get hurt, they probably win that game, right? So that's the thing with that. That's my thing on Utah. So I just think Utah can go toe-to-toe with dang near almost anybody in the country, really, just because of their elite coaching and then the roster that they have. Plus, Cam Rising, quarterbacks can take you a long way. You have a really high level. He's another one I'll see how it looks this weekend, but if he's healthy and he's playing, he could be in that top-tier college quarterback category, tier 1, right? So, and we've seen that. He went toe-to-toe with C.J. Stroud, right? Everybody look at C.J. Stroud now. So, I'm very interested to see how Utah looks this week, but that's my top 10 right there. And then I'm excited. I'll be doing a video tomorrow breaking down the rest of the top 25. So I'll be going from 11 to 25, breaking down the rest of them, explaining. Well, I'll probably go like 11 to 20, to 20, 25. So tomorrow I expect 11 to 20, and then on Thursday I expect 20 to 25. We got games Friday going into the weekend. I just want to tell you I appreciate all the love, like, subscribe, comment. I love to talk to people in the comments. And expect some. I'm gonna be posting my full top 25 on my Instagram either today, sometime this week. I'm not sure when that's gonna be. I'm not gonna say a date, but sometime this week I will be posting my college football top 25. I also want y'all to go follow my Instagram. It's gonna be I'm gonna put it in the description. I'm gonna put it in my TikTok bio. I'm gonna try to put it in my YouTube bio. So that way y'all go follow that and see my top 25 every single week. Go comment on that too. I love to see comments, talk to y'all. The more y'all talk, the better. Like, it just does more for me. See what y'all think. And I want to, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I'm here not to be unbiased, right? I'm here to give y'all the real stuff. The national media is telling y'all a bunch of trash. I'm here to give y'all the facts, right? And I want to talk and have discourse because the only way you can ever get smarter, to be a great learner, you have to be a great listener, right? So I love to talk to y'all and try to grow my knowledge the same way, y'all trying to grow y'all's knowledge, right? So I love to talk to y'all. Please talk to me in the comments. Say something. Like, subscribe, and I appreciate all the love. We out.